Welcome to another St. Pete by Night production. The following is rated for mature audiences and may contain graphic themes that will be distressing to some viewers. As always, we recommend you ensure the safety and well-being of yourself and those around you at all times. Viewer discretion is advised.
In the heart of night, we rise from shadows, howling at the moon, igniting our battles, cleansing Gaia of an endless fight, until our final days we will fight. Thanks, man, we stand united as one. Evil spirits lurking with horror and dread. Little light leads us where the brave dare tread. Glory and honor, wisdom in our hand. Together we rise, take our final stand. Everywhere we run, the wind is at our back. All the warring forces we will track. From the depths of the ocean to the clouds in the sky, vampires tremble as we learn to fight. Rage across Tampa, in this fight we'll stay. Evil spirits lurking with horror and dread. Little light leads us where the brave dare tread. Glory and honor, wisdom in our hand. Together we rise, take our final stand. Rage across Tampa, in this fight we'll stay. Everywhere with the pack, let the night be our guide. In battles of honor, we shall never hide. We'll never hide.
Good evening and welcome to the St. Pete by Night Entertainment Network. St. Petersburg by Night is an online World of Darkness role-playing community founded in St. Petersburg, Florida, but now kind of everywhere. I think we're in like 3 out of 6 continents. I'm not exactly sure exactly, but that's a good thing, right? You should go follow St. Pete by Night on all of that social media you see down below. And my name is Kent, also known as Misha Kent on all social media, and I will be your storyteller tonight. And it's Tuesday night, and you know what that means. It's time for Rage Across Tampa, our Werewolf the Apocalypse 5th edition chronicle set in the city of Tampa, Florida, where the Sept of the Evening Star attempts to combat the forces of the worm, both physical and spiritual. But before we get to all of that, have you signed up to be a Ko-fi member yet? If you haven't, you can for as low as $5 a month and get access to all kinds of cool behind-the-scenes features, including early looks at artwork, including our RBT behind-the-scenes specials, including a lot of extras that you could just get for as low as $5 a month. And it really, really does help support this channel, this community, and this program. And we are very, very grateful for it. But let's get to the important matter of the evening, which is Rage Across Tampa, by introducing the amazing cast that makes this story possible. Players, go ahead and introduce yourselves if you please.
Hi, everybody. I'm Champ Champagne, a motherfucking party, because we're a motherfucker.
Party!
And
I
will
missed
be-
it.
Yeah. And I will be playing Aspen Wise, Father Dogs of the Silverfangs.
Hi, everybody. I am Nori, and I will be playing Melissa's Jester, the Galliard of the Black Furies.
Hey everybody, my name's Preston. I play Jason Dreams Decay Thorn, Theurge of the Bonar.
Howdy do. How are all of you? My name is Nick. I play Izzy, aka Entwined Smiles with Claws, the Alrune child of Gaia.
All right, let's get this party started by getting everybody caught up as to where we were last week. Last week, we saw Jace and Izzy kind of wrap things up in Orlando before making their way back to Tampa. They had an interesting conversation with Moses, and we saw just how much Jace cares for Moses, but also how suspicious Izzy was of Moses's intentions now that he had his memory back and had really returned to his position as a namer, which is something that Izzy has encountered before and isn't exactly the most fond of. We then saw Aspen and Jester have some much needed girl time where they were able to catch up on all of the happenings, especially those surrounding Charles and the growing disdain for him that seems to be happening throughout the sept. Afterwards, Jester went on a fishing trip with Charles, who wanted to make up to her the terse encounter they had had previously, and he really opened up about the struggles he's having before finding out that, in fact, his mentor is now in Tampa, to which he said he wanted to show him that he could not be broken. After the break, we saw Izzy and Terrence take a tour of Tampa, where the local resident Terrence showed Izzy around to all of the hot spots, including a very, very kind of local burrito food truck, where he was introduced to the Meat Hurricane as a massive, massive dish that would take multiple days to finish. He then was introduced to one of Terrence's old teachers named Javier from the Martial Arts Academy over in St. Pete. And through that connection, Izzy may have, in fact, found himself a gainful mean of employment. We then saw Jace and Aspen have a conversation where Aspen called out Jace for his whiny baby bullshit and told him he needed to face the problem directly by talking to Charles. But first, he's going to have to talk to Artie to start sorting out that mess inside of his head. That being said, let's get to our first scene. Izzy, after talking with Javier and being invited to visit the St. Pete gym, you have now made your way out there across the bridge to this facility to see about potentially getting a job. He said that he couldn't say for sure, but that they were looking for someone to work in the weight room, someone to give some instruction or some help at the gym, as they have lost some staff recently. So as you arrive at the facility, it is one of many within a strip mall, but you can see that it is actually a pretty sizable location with a wide bank of windows along the front that faces the street and the other businesses around. You're about a good hour 45 minutes away from the cairn, depending on traffic and time of day. So it is quite a distance to get to, but once you're there, you can see that it is worth the effort, as there are these large mats spread across the floor, several dumb bags hanging in a row by the windows. There is a boxing ring set up off to one side and a pretty well-stocked weight room off to the other. This place clearly hosts classes for a variety of styles of martial arts and is fairly well populated throughout the day. But Javier, knowing that you are coming, is there to greet you at the door, wearing a similar shirt with the gym's logo and name on it. He's wearing some tight gym shorts that are showing off his very muscular calves, and he has basic tennis shoes on and a sweatband around his head that is holding back his thinning blackish gray hair underneath the sweatband. He looks to you with a smile as you arrive and says, "So, it's good to see you, Isidoro."
Hey, Javier.
I'm glad you took me up on my offer.
It's nothing. Honestly, I should be thanking you. You, relative stranger, mind, but I think Terrence knows how to pick them, both as teachers and companions, so...
While it's been many years since I have seen Terrence, I know that he is of a good sort. He always was very focused, very obedient, very well disciplined, much too old in personality for the age he was bearing at the time. But if there's anyone judgment I would trust, it is Terrence, yes.
What's that phrase people use when they don't want to say you're a stick in the mud? Old soul?
Yes, that's the words, yes. Well, let me show you around and answer any questions you may have, and we can see possibly just how good you are.
Okay. Let's get the tour then.
He takes you over to the locker rooms, the changing rooms, where there are lines of lockers against the wall and a shower and several sinks. He then takes you out into the main gym area. He shows you where the offices are. He shows you where the towels are kept, that there's actually a laundry room in the back where they will, regularly process any of the used towels. There are these bins on wheels that are used for any refuse or used equipment that needs to be wiped down. There are fully stocked sanitization stations around most of the equipment, whether it's hand sanitizer or wipes used to wipe down the equipment when it's done. You can see that there's a few clients in the area at the time. There's one working on a weight machine, a couple sparring in the boxing ring, but it's early enough in the day that it hasn't picked up too much. The after work crowd hasn't arrived yet, so you're seeing it at a lower point of activity, but you can tell that this place is well loved by staff and clientele alike, as you don't see a lot of loosely discarded equipment around the area or damaged wares. Like the rings mat is very nice and clean and obviously regularly washed and replaced. The mats themselves aren't showing signs of wear or tear in them, so they must be regularly replaced or at least respected enough when people are using them. But it is a very, very nice facility. And as he finishes the tour, he says, "So, what do you think?"
Honestly, I was not entirely certain what to expect, but coming from a stranger out of town, this seems like a home to a lot of people.
Yes,
we
have many who spend most days here.
The deadlift platform, like you could definitely see the age in some of the wooden beams, but a lot of nails put in there, a lot of replacements, meaning people are keeping an eye on it. Doesn't have to be brand spanking new for people to not have the needs met.
Yes, we have many very gracious donors who help us keep our equipment up, as well as many who are regulars and keep up regular subscription fees to be able to be here. It is, humble, but it is successful, and we are glad to see it.
Well, assuming this is just about everything, I have to admit, Javier, I'm a bit smitten with this place. It's been a while since I've and with that, he will just look at the normalcy of the gym. People going to and fro, maybe taking a breathing break or swatting down a thing of water, and there's just calm. Not the frightening Garu life of Banes around every corner or death. It is just nice and peaceful.
It's a wonderful slice of life. It's a wonderful bit of normalcy in an otherwise chaotic lifestyle that you live day to day. You can see a definite presence of the Weaver on full display here, but it seems to be in a very well-maintained way. You don't see a lot of signs of decay or a lot of signs of anything that would seem off-putting or questionable. It's very well kept. This is a very peaceful and well-maintained place. Javier grabs a clipboard from behind one of the counters near the front doors and says, "Well, why don't we have a little chat first, and then we'll see just how capable you are. Call this a bit of an interview so I can pass along good tidings to the rest of the council to make sure that you are hired as quickly as possible. You said you're new to town, so I'm sure you could use an income."
Izzy adjusts his tee and says, "I wore my best tank top and t-shirt combo today, so whenever you're ready."
Wonderful. So why do you want to work here? Why do you want to get into this type of work? You seem like you could be fit for a variety of much better paying jobs like construction or, well, working in a manufacturing warehouse or something like that. Why here?
Oh, I don't know about how many manufacturing jobs there still are, but I don't know. I guess for construction, I've done it before, but I feel like sometimes it's not enough to just make something. You need to make it with someone. I'm sorry if that sounds, lame and poetic, but
Not at all. The social connection that we have in an environment such as this is part of the process. It can be very motivating for some, and others prefer to work out on their own, but knowing that they have assistance available to them can be very comforting, especially when they need a spot or somebody to help them with their form. How would you feel you are in a customer service capacity, in a social capacity? I can tell from meeting you that you are very charming and kind, but here we deal with all kinds, all sorts, and it may mean adjustments to how you pursue interactions with them. So how do you feel in an environment such as this, working with others?
Izzy internalizes the question. And as much as he wants to say, well, if people have a problem with it, they'll get thrown on their ass, he knows that that sort of reaction is not conducive to human interaction for most things. And really needing at that meaning, he'll look around and go, not to dodge the question, consider it a bit of interpersonal exchange. What was the worst customer you ever had to deal with while doing your job here?
Oh boy. Well, I don't like to be too judgmental. I like to give everybody, some grace and the benefit of the doubt. But we had one young gentleman who came in here who assumed he knew how everything worked, who assumed that he knew more than most of the trainers here. And he was very outspoken about it, needless to say. He had an entitlement about him that just doesn't fit in an environment such as this. We get occasionally people with a very alpha mentality that come in through our doors, but eventually they either find their way into the group or they end up finding their way out the door. And this particular individual, he was like a sand spur. Do you know what that is?
Don't think so.
See, I will fill you in. It is a weed that grows pretty much everywhere around here, especially in the grass. And it is like stepping on caltrops, these pokey little things that detach from the vine of the weed, and they can just stick to your clothes, they can stick to your feet. They're very unpleasant, needless to say, and it takes some effort to make sure you get them out effectively, usually using tweezers or the like.
Yeah, that's pretty evocative. I can imagine this character of yours, whenever they were in the gym, everyone was on eggshells, right?
Everyone was very aware of their presence, needless to say, and rather than being a positive influence, rather than giving constructive criticism or possibly encouragement to those that need it, they instead decided to, shove others out of the way and show them how to do it in the way they thought best. And, well, karma has a wonderful way of coming calling. They ended up lifting more than they probably should have in an attempt to show off. And, well, let's just say they had an ambulance ride waiting for them, and we did not see them after that.
Well, I'm glad it seemed to work out, though I'm sorry to hear it had to go that far.
It's part of the trade, part of the business, and something that we have come to expect from time to time. But we have a good community here that is not afraid to communicate when they feel like something isn't quite right. And so after enough complaints, it was easy to see why his membership would be revoked.
Well,
Well, speaking of encouragement and criticism, how do you feel you can handle such a situation? Because for some, they need a soft touch, whereas others might need something a little bit stronger to encourage them or push them onward. So how do you feel you can handle such situations? You have shown, again, to be very charismatic and charming, but sometimes they need a little bit more of a, how you say, a drill instructor presence.
Izzy will get a bit cheeky as he engages in one of his favorite, like, bait and switch tactics for stories as he goes, well, I'm certain you've heard that, in order to make diamonds, you need to apply a lot of pressure, right?
Of course.
Well, I hate that advice, because if you start out with someone who's glass and you don't know him, you're going to crush him. So start off easy. Hey, how you doing? I'm a trainer here. I'm an instructor. I noticed these issues going on. We're going to talk from there. And if it continues, start tweaking a bit of that pressure. Hey, man, I know we discussed it earlier, but you really need to shape up. And then by the final step,
would you say that you have a temper?
I mean, yes, I do. But as with all tempers, you need to know when the flames are fanning. And I'm pretty good at knowing when the anger is out.
Good, good. Obviously, this is an environment with a lot of testosterone flaring, and so it's not something that is necessarily bad to admit to. In fact, I appreciate that you do acknowledge that about yourself, and that means that you are very self-aware. We have, as you know from Terrence, an at-risk program that we work with some youths in the area, and some of them are open-minded and open to learning, and others take a little bit more effort to get into the process of things, and they have at times been known to push a few buttons here and there, and so being aware of when it is best to step away from such a situation is a highly sought after quality in an environment such as this.
Izzy will flash back to, he doesn't even know how many times of fresh-faced Garu, barely in control of their own faculties, dealing with the rage at this cairn or that. And though he wasn't necessarily their den father, he might have at one point been assigned to shape them up in one form or another, especially with Charles in the background providing their expertise. And as he returns to the moment, he nods and goes, you got to meet them where they're at.
Agreed.
And if that means they're thinking about something else as they're spitting in your face, you got to know that it's not about you, it's about whatever problem's affecting them. And you got to figure out a way to get to that rather than, I don't know, get into a shouting match or, I don't know, tear their face off, right?
There's a difference between commanding respect and being brought down to their level.
Yeah.
You can't show too much weakness or they lose all respect for you and don't view you as any kind of authority figure. But you also don't want to come on too strong or else you might seem overbearing and problematic. And for many of these young men and women that have come through here, they've already had those kinds of influences in their life, and it is best to avoid reminding them of that.
I don't have any dedicated teaching credentials, but I do have a lot of experience teaching, not necessarily as young as what I think is available, but like late teens.
Of course.
And boy, if you come off as an authority figure, they're going to call you their dad, and you don't want to deal with that.
Especially these days, I have found in recent generations that respect for authority has become even more fragile and brittle than ever, but that is neither here nor there.
Yeah, authority, I don't know, authority has a habit of trying to perpetuate itself. So,
See,
no,
continue.
just a lot of experience with bad authority is all. You got to know when to use it and why the authority is there in the first place. Like, are you there just to make sure they're following what you say, or are you there to make sure that they're better off than they were when you came into the classroom, right?
Absolutely. And safety is a big priority here. If individuals go into these exercises or use the equipment with the wrong mindset, they're more likely to hurt themselves or others. And so making sure that everyone is safe and in the right headspace to work through these programs is important. Speaking of which, how comfortable are you with workout equipment, and what arts would you consider yourself familiar with?
Kent, this is a thing where Izzy would technically be more noble than Nick in this moment.
Okay.
Is there perhaps like a roll I could make to have it where Izzy just sort of lists off his credentials? Because he does have like some pretty good, decent medical things. So I like to think that he's proficient in like first aid, like EMS stuff. But I don't know what it would be.
Yeah, what's your combined intelligence and athletics pool?
That would be 4.
Okay. You can either make a roll to try and get higher, or you can just take half and do 2 successes, which would mean you have a fairly decent knowledge base. I wouldn't say that you are abundantly proficient in the arts, but you could try and make a roll to say that, to see if you are more knowledgeable than just taking half.
Yeah, I think Izzy's gonna try to meet Javier where he is, try to like strip off the Garu horror of his existence from all his fighting experience and present it in a non-horrifying way. I assumed Rage was that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay.
For the moment.
Well, good news is I got 3 successes.
3 successes. Okay, so as you list off the different equipment that you've had experience with, or some kind of freestyled version of it, because at cairns they're not going to have a weight bench necessarily, but you might do something like lift a fallen log or a large rock, and the exercises that are associated with that are very similar to those of using equipment. Roll me also an intelligence and brawl, as he's going to ask you about your fighting techniques or any, arts that you're aware of.
Ooh, that's a crit for 5 successes.
Okay, so you are obviously very proficient in bare knuckle brawling. I would say also possibly some boxing, although it's maybe not completely refined. Maybe some mixed martial arts, grappling, the like of that. And as he's kind of nodding his head, writing things down on the notepad, he eventually kind of pats his lap with both hands and stands up and says, well, talk is all well and good, but let's see what you can actually do. And he goes walking over to the mat, and he actually kicks off his shoes as he gets closer to the mat. So he's walking bare feet onto the mat itself.
So what are we playing for? First one to tap, first to land a square punch in the jaw, like what?
Well, I think that we should stick to grappling for the moment until a certain level of trust is built. I feel like you are a very trustworthy person, but I am taking a lot of this on Terrence's word. And so I would prefer to see for myself what you can do, and then maybe we work our way up to something a little bit more physical.
Fair enough.
So he moves over to one side of the mat, and you can see that he's actually in very good shape, all things considered. While he is a little bit older, he doesn't seem to be very apprehensive about this exercise. And as he gets into place, he gives a polite half bow at the waist and then gets into a very defensive position. As soon as you're ready and you find your place, go ahead and make a strength and brawl for me.
2. My rage hasn't gone up, right?
It is not yet.
Okay. That is another crit for 5 again.
So almost immediately as you go towards him, you reach out to grab him and almost scoop him up with one arm and then cradle him with the other and bring him around to drop him down onto the ground behind you. And with an oof, he hits the mat and says, "Oh, see, very good."
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry, I got a bit carried away here. Let me help you up.
Roll me a dexterity and athletics.
Uh-oh. Three, 4.
Okay. As you go to lift him up, he ends up curling a leg around your leg and pushing you down to the ground, doing 1 point of superficial damage. Your rage does go up to 2 at this point.
Okay. As Izzy gets that sort of like jostle after, oh shit, was I too much? He chuckles as the grin goes that much wider as he goes, I shouldn't have counted you out. I was not estimating you correctly.
When you get to my age, it often is the case. Now, I will tell you when I am finished, and he kind of gestures to you with a hand.
Okay. With that, Izzy sort of like pumps his fist together and does a little like dance on his toes before he goes in for a punch, and then immediately just sort of like drops a leg out and attempts to like trip up Javier.
Okay, give me let's go with a manipulation in athletics, as strange as that sounds, as you are trying to kind of feint, but also make an attack. Or manipulation and brawl. Sorry, manipulation and brawl.
Okay. That is... Oh, I thought it was a crit. No, that is 2 successes.
Okay, so as you attempt to tie up his leg, he goes down, but keeps his legs locked around yours as he brings you down to the ground with him, grabbing your ankle and giving it a gentle twist, enough to put some pressure on it as he puts you into an almost ankle lock, leg lock, bringing you down onto your stomach and starting to position his way up to put a little bit of extra pressure on it. Take another point of superficial damage. Your rage stays the same, however. Actually, give me a composure and resolve at this point, as that is twice now that he has damaged you.
Mm-hmm. 2 successes.
Okay. I'll say your rage goes up to 3 now. As you are starting to feel a little bit annoyed, maybe a little bit embarrassed, as this older man is giving you a much more difficult challenge than you expected previously.
As Izzy feels his leg beginning to buckle under the mounting pressure of the bind, he will cast an eye up, and for the first time, that sort of like friendliness has been replaced with that, you know, feralness, that true like Garu ferocity, as he goes, "Oh, we are gonna be finishing this right now, okay?" And he will use all of his leverage and just try to reverse grapple Javier and like headlock him.
Okay, yeah, give me a strength and brawl.
That is a crit for 4.
Okay, so you return the pressure, reverse the pressure, spinning over, and then lean upwards to grab him in a headlock kind of from the front, so that he is tucked underneath, his head is tucked underneath your arm, and that you are almost bending together in an almost M-like shape. You can tell that he's actually resisting a great deal of the pressure, but as you cinch it in, you just hear a soft chuckle as you feel a tap on your back, signaling his submission.
Izzy wants to keep going so bad after literal years of the only type of experience like this he's had with this fellow Guru, where that resilience is so much more bloody and drawn out. But as he feels the tap, he taps out, releases the grip, and sort of dusts himself off as I assume the two of them hobble to their feet.
Yes, as you both stand back up again, Javier has a bright smile on his face, showing all of the wrinkles and cares of age across his forehead and down his cheeks. You can see he has laugh lines around his eyes that crinkle the edge of his eyes, and he offers out a hand to you for a handshake and says, "Oh, you are quite capable, but also capable of restraint as well. That is very, very respectable."
Well, I'll try not to put the kids in a headlock, huh? And with that, he'll take the handshake.
He kind of pulls you in a little bit closer, giving like a conspiratorial look to the rest of the gym and says, "Some of those kids need a headlock, so, you know, I trust your judgment." And he pats you on the shoulder.
That felt good. Javier. Just so I can say we're a bit more than acquaintances at this point. What's your last name?
Oh, let me look that up again.
Yeah, no worries.
Want to make sure I have it right, or pronounce it right at least. Okay, so we are...
I believe the pronunciation would be Ibanez, or...
Oh yeah, Ibanez. Okay, yes. Javier Ibanez, he says.
My full name is Isidoro Dennis, so...
Oh, okay.
Now we know each other fully. We can say, you know, whenever someone pulls that, "Oh, you think you're so good at friends, what's their full name?" Now we can say it, huh?
Wonderful. Well, let's get to know each other even better by getting the paperwork out of the way, an official application, driver's license, that sort. And he starts gesturing you over with a wave and starts moving over towards one of the offices.
Izzy gets kind of nervous because I don't think he has a driver's license.
Does he have an ID, you think? Like maybe a state ID?
Would a Garu have a ID? That is a question for you, Kemp.
Do you have a mask?
A mask?
Yeah. Like a fake ID or anything like that?
Not marked on the character sheet, so...
I'd say you probably do have an ID from before your change, maybe your first driver's license or the sort like that, but it's probably expired at this point.
Yeah. I think Izzy will join Javier in the office, but the second the door is closed, he'll go, "Listen, you know, I know that, at least for the sake of paperwork, you're going to need a whole list of credentials, proof of citizenship, or whatever else. But unfortunately, like so many people who I think might be passing through your gym, I don't necessarily have that up to date. I can get it, but I don't have it on me."
Give me
Oh,
go ahead.
He'll just add, one of the reasons why, you know, Terrence was showing me around was because, you know, you roll through a lot of places, not a lot of places call you home. You know what I mean?
Give me a charisma and persuasion.
This is mostly rage dice, I am afraid.
Still feeling that adrenaline.
Well, the good news is it's not a brutal. 2 successes.
Okay. He looks at you for a moment, studying you, but then says, "I'm sure we'll get that all taken care of in time. When you can, if you can get a local state ID, pretty easy enough to do. You head into one of the DMVs, they should get you all sorted. But for now, I will just put down what we have here, and that should be enough to at least get the process started."
Hey, just to make it clear, I'm not trying to pull your leg or pull one up on you. Here's my address. This is where I live now.
Of course, I don't even assume so. Again, this is an opportunity. This place is more than just a place to, bulk up or get stronger. It's an opportunity for a fresh start for those who need it at times. So if anyone understands, I do. And he continues filling out some of the paperwork before passing you a form to put in all the information and, put your signature in and agree to the contract of employment and all the like. I will pass this all along, as well as my recommendation to the council, and we should have an answer for you in no more than 3 days.
3 days? Ooh.
At most. It's a pretty good community and very communicative.
The only time I ever hear about people and job delays is that the job never replies back and it takes months. So 3 days feels like a miracle.
We are a family here. We can sometimes be wary about bringing new individuals in, but again, Terrence speaks well of you, and from what I've seen for myself, you are a decent sort, and we'd love to have you here, and I think that this will work out well.
You barely know me, come on. But
well, I hope to get to know you better. And he ends up finishing up some of the paperwork and setting it off to the side and says, well, consider this an invitation for a free day pass to the gym for the rest of the day, and then who knows, maybe in 3 days we'll have you back and classes can begin.
Well, I think that after our little tussle, I could really use some steam letting off, so if you don't mind, I'm going to start using some of your weights.
Help yourself. And he gestures to the door with a smile, and as you step out into the gym, give me a stamina and athletics roll.
Does endurance apply?
Yes, here? 100%.
Okay. 2.
Okay, so you spend probably the next 90 or so minutes working out some of that aggression on the punching bags or lifting the weights, and after a while you start to feel that soreness enter into your muscles from having not worked with equipment like this in quite some time. And as you do so, you finally feel that rage start to subsist inside of you, that you feel like you have exerted some of that energy. There's always an underlying rage, of course, but some good iron therapy, so to speak, can help keep that fire at bay. And after a good 90 minutes of working out, sweat dripping down your forehead, you feel at peace, relieved of some of that stress, and you find that this could work out very nicely for you.
As he finishes maybe like the final set of reps, he looks for the local cleaning rag with the spray bottle to wipe everything down, and as he sets the last dumbbell back or puts one of the bars back, he'll wipe at his head and take a moment sitting on the bench to just take in the quiet, right, of the gym.
Relative quiet, but the ambiance does provide a soothing piece to it, even as the clinking of metal hitting against each other as the weights are lowered and lifted on some of the machines, as you hear some quiet murmuring around. It's almost hypnotic and soothing in a way. It's familiar, which you haven't had a sense of familiarity in quite some time. In fact, you've spent a lot of time alone over the last few months. And so to have this environment, a community feeling that isn't necessarily related to the guru or the stress of being guru, there's a peace that washes over you, a peace that, especially living the guru lifestyle, everyone needs. Speaking of a search for peace, we move on to our next scene, where a Galliard meets with a Theurge to find a little bit of peace and consolation of their own, but also to dig at the root of what has been troubling the Stargazer. Jester. Eliza's been acting off lately. You noticed it at the meeting when there were discussions, especially the mention of Fenris came up. Her tone had a very obvious shift to it. And ever since, there's been this air around the cairn, this sullen energy, this weight. And in a place that is often found to be a place of peace, a place of serenity, it's been different. This has caused you to maybe grow a little bit concerned, a little bit nervous, because the Stargazer has said some things lately that have been peculiar, to say the least. What is Jester's thoughts going into this situation?
Eliza tends to keep her own feelings a bit to herself and bear her own burdens herself, and it's led to some things that could have gone better if she'd opened up more to us, like with the sacrifice of the old cairn. She kind of didn't voice her opinions or feelings on it, and I feel like we could have gone into that decision with more more knowledge if we actually talked to her about it. But honestly, I'm worried about her because she does tend to look after everybody else and just deal with her stuff on her own.
As you arrive at the cairn, the stars shining overhead, the temperatures rising with the coming spring and the dip of winter, you find Eliza sat out on one of the lawn chairs, looking up at the stars, having reclined the seat back to be able to get a really good scope from the clearing of the sky up above. There's a fire, a nice small fire within the circle of stones, just enough to provide some light, maybe a little bit of comfort and warmth, but not too much to be overbearingly hot in this time of year. As you approach, Eliza doesn't look away from the sky. She just simply says, "Evening, Jester."
Evening, Eliza.
Care to join me?
I'd love to.
You walk over near one of the RVs where another lawn chair is waiting, and you pick it up and bring it out beside Eliza. She hasn't moved. She hasn't looked away. Just continues to exist in the space. So as you set down your chair and sit, she says, "How's Charles?"
Dealing with things?
I see the cat's finally out of the bag. Good for you. I'm sure that's comforting.
It makes me happy. Yeah. I mean, I know the concerns he has, though, so there's also having to watch out for that as too, but either way, we'd have to do that.
I admire and envy you, Jester. I know exactly what you're speaking of in terms of the concerns of how appearances can be and having to keep a secret. And I'm just glad you don't have to carry that burden any longer, at least among those that you trust and care about.
Yeah. It must have been really hard for you.
I chose that life. Love knows no restrictions or bounds. if it's important enough, if it means enough, you make it work. And I understood Joseph. I understood the burden he had to carry and how difficult it was to be in a position such as his, but to try and find some sort of stability and normalcy. And I was just happy to be that piece for him, even if it was secretive.
You and Ryder have a lot of admiration and love for him.
He was one of the greatest guru I had ever met. Honorable, kind in his own way, dedicated, and like a true leader, he cared about every single member of his sept and would have done anything and everything to protect them.
Like sacrificing himself.
To make sure they escaped from an unknown threat? Yes. I saw a lot of him in his son. That fire, that persistence and drive. While he took after me a lot more than his father, he still had that Black Rock energy side of him. Suppose that's why I couldn't dissuade him from seeking out a tier of Gaia and the Umbra, and, well, you know the rest of the story.
Yeah.
And how are you?
Eh. Equal parts happy and dealing with my own crap.
She lets off a soft chuckle. Crap, huh?
Yeah.
If you're gonna say it, you might as well say it outright. It's shit.
Yes, it's shit. But we're not supposed to cuss wave towards the whole like area.
They're far enough away. Why don't we get out our pitchforks and get to it then? What's troubling you?
You know, I do go see Artie about it too.
Sure, but I'm not asking as a therapist. I'm asking as a concerned motherly figure.
I am trying to work through what happened at Piney Point to me.
All right.
But every time I try to really think about it or comprehend it or talk about it instead of just talking around it, I start to have panic attacks. I can't really explain what happened because I don't understand it.
I get it. What you experienced is not natural, not normal, but very few of the things that we encounter or deal with are.
Yeah, but like I kind of get spirits. I kind of get the Umbra. Like the spirits have purpose. If you can understand that purpose that they have, you can understand that spirit. And it still goes off of what we think is mostly like makes sense. It makes no sense that a plant was growing out from my stomach.
No, I suppose it wouldn't. But there are creatures that survive because of your very being. Now, I don't call myself a scientist by any means, but bacteria, enzymes, even some parasites need you to survive. It's a lot like that, though wholly unnatural and very, very violent. The plants itself weren't the problem. It was someone who was wielding power in a very damaging way. What are you afraid of, Jester? What scares you to your core?
Being helpless.
Why?
Because the worst things that happen to me happen when I'm helpless.
I can understand that. Feeling out of control, feeling used, taken advantage of. It hurts the heart, damages the mind. Can I tell you a secret?
Yes.
You're never actually out of control. You cede control to fear, to pain, to worry, to a fear of death, to survival, your baser instincts. And while those are very valuable and very important, you are choosing to give up that control. Now, whether you're bound up in vines or, in your case, having plants inappropriately growing from you, you choose to cede up that control. And I know that's a hard reality to accept, because it's taken from you in many ways, but a person or being can't take something that you don't give.
How am I supposed to control somebody making something grow out from inside of me physically?
That's not what you're
Tell me, how was I
controlling.
supposed to? What am I supposed to control? Like, I had no way to stop that.
No. No, you didn't. You can't control what happened to you. What you can control is how you react to what happened. They got what they wanted from you. They scared you. They paralyzed you with fear. That's not your fault. It's not a skill easily mastered. It's natural. It's very human. This is a task that stargazers spend their entire existences trying to accomplish. I'm not faulting you, Jester. I'm not trying to make light of what occurred to you. It was terrible. And it shouldn't have happened. But it also might not be the worst thing you experience in this life. There are threats on the horizon. You know it. I know it. If indeed the spiral is dancing its way across this country, there are much worse things coming. You are and have every right to feel hurt, to feel vulnerable, to feel scared. I'm not trying to take that from you, because this is a place to feel those things. This is a place to have that moment with me, with the spirits, with the cairn, with your pack mates. But there are times to have it and times to not have it, to not allow it. This rage that boils up in us, it makes us believe that, or take for granted the idea of self-control. As long as we're not tooth and claw tearing our way across the plains, we think that we have control. That's the amount of control that we need. But the truth is that control extends further than that. I'm sorry. I know that I should be more empathetic in these situations, but I feel more than ever that I need to prepare you as best as I possibly can. And that comes with some harsh truths. And the truth is, Jester, what happened to you is terrible, but you can prevent it from happening again. You need to prevent it from happening again. And if it does, and I don't think it will, you need to bounce back from it. You need to survive it, and you need to keep moving forward. Otherwise, you will remain helpless. You will remain out of control. And that, more than anything, more than the pain, that's what they're trying to accomplish. To make you scared. To take you out of the fight. To destroy you more than physically, but mentally and spiritually as well. You're one of the strongest people I know, and that strength has come through trauma after trauma, strife after strife, challenge after challenge. This is no different. It's just another challenge. And I know you have what it takes to get past it. Because if you don't, what hope do the rest of us have?
You're pretty strong.
You'd be surprised. I have my vulnerabilities.
Like Brandon?
She takes a deep breath and looks up to the sky. Yes.
Do you want to talk about it?
If I could find the words, I have been searching for them, searching for a way to explain, even to myself, how difficult this is. Brandon, as well as Holly and the others that you've read about, aside from Orion, they were basically the first pack to ever show me respect, allowed me to teach them, to guide them, to advise them. After I became a stargazer, I became suspect, as you know. Even to this day, people think that I'm brainwashing. To have that pack see me as Eliza and not as my tribe or my tribe's choices meant the world to me. It gave me a renewed confidence. Because while this has been my home for many years, it wasn't a comfortable home for most of them.
Given how I see Garu act, and what I remember from Ryder, I believe it.
But in all that discomfort, she looks over towards you. I found the things I needed to keep going, even when I felt like I couldn't, even when I was hurting the most and scared for myself, for my son. At times, I think if I had to do it all over again, I would do it differently. But the truth is, I wouldn't. And that is a difficult reality to deal with because of what it cost. Ren, Holly, Brandon. And I'm not so foolish to think that if they'd stayed here, it would have made the difference. That they would have turned the tides of the conflict and Guru lives would have been saved. But he carries a self-righteous anger with him. And I can't say I don't entirely understand it. We all deal with loss in our own ways. Some of us fall into the path of Hirano and others to the path of Hoglosk, and I fear he's the latter.
Do you think he can be helped?
I think anyone can be helped.
Only if they want it.
There are many ways to help, Jester. Sometimes it's just as simple as giving them what they want. To show them that that's not what they really wanted.
I'm not sure I like what that is hinting at. Because I'm pretty sure he wants Tampa. And revenge.
I don't believe he wants Tampa. I think this is just simply a opportunity. An opportunity for him to grow even angrier, to be honest, to build up his resentment even further. I think he came back here because he is dealing with a guilt he doesn't know how to put into words. Because in truth, he abandoned his pack. He abandoned his sept, and in doing so, abandoned Gaia. He was willing to leave it to rot. Not everyone can accept the fact that sometimes the fight for Gaia means sacrifice, and a sacrifice beyond friends and family, but a sacrifice of ourselves. Brandon always had a tendency for overthinking when some answers are just simple and in front of us.
That given what I've read and what I know, I don't think things would have been better if the whole SEP had abandoned this place. I think they would have been much worse.
Would have been. We would have been ceding ground to the worm. And worse than that, to the Black Spiral Dancers, to the leeches. This place would be far worse. I know that. Doesn't make it easier.
No. As much as I'd rather not see more of us die, I do know there are moments that is sacrifice is the best option to stop a worse outcome.
Inside of that very angry guru is a scared and hurt little boy.
You think he could still be reached?
I have to. At least I have to try. And I would do the same for you or anyone in this sept.
I'm gonna study her for moments because I know Eliza's very motherly type who tries to reach people through that end. But I felt like she's tried that before with Brandon when Brandon was here last. I'd like to roll an insight though, because I feel like she's hinting at something different at this point.
Sure, go for it.
What's my rage at?
I think you're at a steady 2. This plant issue has been bothering you quite a great amount.
Okay. I got 3 successes.
Eliza seems conflicted. She seems conflicted is the best way I can put it. There's no clear-cut answer to what she's feeling. She seems to be going back and forth on it.
I'll lean close and take her hand, like lean over from my chair and take her hand. Be like, okay, so what can we do? What can I do to help you?
She gives your hand a squeeze. You already are. What you can do and stay focused. You can find peace. And you can prepare yourself. I know you're about to have to face your fear firsthand, and that is a terrifying concept. Do it, Jester. You laugh in the face of fear. You beat the odds. You've outlived most Guru already.
25 now.
Yes.
I hit that one little ceiling, I guess.
You are Jester. And jesters make fun of fear. They make a game of danger. And they smile all the way through it, no matter what pain hides behind those eyes. What you can do for me is be the incredible and outstanding Guru that I know you are, because this sept needs you. This nation needs you. Gaia needs you. There's a whole growing pack of young and naive Guru that need a shining light to show them the way. You are that light, Jester.
I'm trying.
I know.
And I will make myself ready for what is coming. Even if it means I just have to watch our every step so it doesn't happen again.
And now you know what they're capable of. Before you didn't. Keep that knowledge close. Think tactically. You've got a great teacher for that.
I do. I do.
The dreaming, as far as I can tell, is no different than another version of the Umbra, a pocket within the Umbra. But just like the Umbra, it will react to what you offer it. If you offer it fear, it will be terrifying. If you offer it sadness, it will be the saddest place you can imagine. If you offer it anger, it'll be a hellscape. Find your balance, find your calm, and find that little bit of sarcastic wit that I know you have heaps of.
Pretty sure that's always there.
I know it is. But it ain't been shining through lately. Not as much as it should.
I think some conversations more than others.
There are some very scary times ahead. Don't be afraid.
I will. You know that's impossible, right?
Maybe.
I mean, everybody's afraid. There's lots of things to be afraid of. I am pretty much afraid of things my entire life. I just usually know how to deal with the other fears. I get what you're saying, though. Figure out how to deal with this fear.
Yes.
I'm trying. You're helping. And you know, you can talk to me and other people about things that bother you, right? You don't have to be just the bearer of our burdens.
I know. Truth be told, I didn't realize how vulnerable I was to this still. I'm not perfect, Jester. I don't have all the answers. I have a lot of them, but not all of them.
You have a lot more than some of us do.
Well, that's what a stubbornness and unwillingness to die gets you.
Cool. I guess a part of me hopes that I will be a cranky old lady like you at some point.
If anyone can, you can. Trust yourself, trust your pack, and trust that Gaia is in all things, even the dreaming. And Gaia chose you. Gaia wants you here. And those that would manipulate Gaia for evil, for wrong, in unnatural ways, they are not serving Gaia's purpose or will. They are exploiting it. And just like the one you faced before, they will be dealt with.
I mean, it is good to know I'm not going in alone.
No.
That helps.
And even when you think you're alone, you're not. Because Gaia is with you. I am with you.
Okay.
You've got this.
We've got this.
We've got this. Be happy. What you've done is a magnificent thing. You got joy from a stone. You did the impossible. What's a little bit of fear in comparison to that? You've earned this joy and this happiness. So cherish it. Because in this life, it goes away far too quickly.
I know.
She keeps holding your hand and gives it another squeeze. Thank you for giving me another chance. I don't think I ever said it appropriately or personally.
You were hurting. I wanted to help.
You did. Now, I'm sure you have much better things to do than waste away the hours looking at stars.
Maybe I don't. Maybe I want you to tell me a story about a constellation.
All right. Let me tell you about Libra. And as she proceeds to tell you a story about the scales, about balance, what's going through your mind, having talked to Eliza?
I'm still worried about her. She seems very conflicted, but I hope that she'll at least take the advice I gave her, and that she'll come talk when she needs to. But I am still worried about her conflict because she's starting to talk again a lot like I'm not gonna be here and things are changing bad for the worse pretty soon, and it always worries me when she talks like that. But I'm also trying to process the advice she gave and find a way to deal with the fear that I haven't been able to deal with.
Even as you're listening to the story, can't help but feel an itching in your throat, stinging in your eyes. But after a moment, you realize it's not a plant growing inside of you, an allergy you didn't know you had. It's worry for a mentor, care for another being. In a way, it's not fear necessarily, but an unwillingness to accept what's inevitable. Therapy is a beautiful thing because it teaches us how to process, teaches us how to get the tools we need to work our way through this difficult experience that is life. And while therapy can help us in processing loss, it doesn't take loss away. Doesn't take grief away. Doesn't even take fear away. It just gives us what we need to keep moving through it. We now go to break. We'll be back in just a few minutes with the second half of tonight's story. St. Petersburg by Night is brought to you through collaboration with our partnered vendors, Chromatic Creations, Panchi Artista, Ember Fox Dice, Champs Tramps, and Howl and Hop Tea. Links to our partnered vendors, as well as our Twitch and YouTube channels, can be found on our website, stpetebynight.com. You can follow St. Pete by Night on all socials with the hashtag St. Pete by Night. If you wish to support our programs, you can do so at ko-fi.com/St. Pete by Night to help keep the stories rolling. Welcome back. Now, Jace, you have been getting a lot of pressure from your packmates recently to deal with some issues that you have been supposedly avoiding. Why they won't let you do it on your own time and in your own way proves just how obnoxious pack life can be sometimes. But eventually, after just enough pressure, you relent. And you give a call to Artie to talk about the phone that you've had this whole time that supposedly belonged to Denton as an excuse to meet. Because you still, even now, have a hard time admitting that you need to talk to somebody, that you don't have it under control. So, when you call Artie, he says, yeah, meet him at the Armature Works. He wants to get out into the city. Spending too much time at the cairn and in the remote areas has been making the glass walker in him want to scream. So you drive out to the old trolley repair factory, which has been now repurposed into a marketplace. It's well in the afternoon. The sounds of the city surround you as you arrive on your motorcycle, pulling into the gravel lot, turning off the engine, looking out over the river that turns into the river walk in downtown. A part of you breathes easier in situations like this too. Bone Gnars tend to prefer more urban environments. You can relate when Artie went on and on about why he needed to get somewhere with cement and a Wi-Fi signal. So as you put down the kickstand of the bike, climbing off of it, you see further in on kind of a grassy clearing a few picnic tables, and at one of those picnic tables sits Artie, who waves over to you from the distance. Not that you weren't aware of where he already was. Go ahead and tell me what Jace is thinking as he's walking into this meeting, whatever apprehension or anxiousness he might be feeling.
As he's walking up, he'll kind of like pat his inside jacket pocket just like towards the phone, with his main purpose of he wants to get to the bottom of what's on here. And he knows that he told both Jester and Aspen that he would go and talk to Artie. But the overall conversation doesn't necessarily have to be about feelings. He's going to talk to him about this. So he feels like he's winning in a sense, but he does still have that part where he knows he needs to air out the feelings that he's having, but he doesn't want to bring up the subject. So walking up, he had a decent pace, but then when he gets to that point, he almost slows down to a very slow stroll before finally getting up to the picnic table, looking at him like, so you picked an area away from where we were at, but an area that still has some form of nature, but in the city. I like it.
They mow the grass here. It's just weeds and undergrowth where we usually are. So, you know,
I love our place, but I get it, bro. I get it. He'll sit down.
Artie pushes a half-eaten basket of fries to the middle of the table. Help yourself.
Yeah.
So what do you want to talk about?
Well, first, I hadn't seen you in a while, and both of us have been running around with our heads cut off. And since the little field trip that we took, you doing all right? I know that things got a little hectic, but I haven't been able to check in on you.
Yeah, I'm okay. It's been busy, obviously. The Hellhounds have a couple of their members on an away mission, and you see he almost subconsciously checks his phone before putting it back away. And, well, I guess we were all hoping for a peace between crises, and seems like another one's on the horizon. But how are you? How are things going?
Overall, doing okay. The my plate is gets more and more full almost every day.
Yeah, you opened another business. That's crazy, man. You could have gotten like a Domino's franchise or something like that, but no, not Jace. He had to do the big fancy Aztec temple full of plants. But the pizza's really good, by the way, and congratulations.
It's the location. That's the biggest thing. It's right across the street. And the information I've already gotten, just been open for the few weeks, it's been really good. So, and Domino's is good, but my ideas are better.
Absolutely.
And I don't like being under the thumb. So my thing.
Well, what can I do for you? How can I take off some of that strain that you're dealing with?
He'll reach into his jacket pocket and pull out a phone. This was given to me a while ago, and with everything that was going on, I didn't it wasn't at the forefront of everything, but this is my former pack leader's phone.
Okay.
So, and I've tried every possible combination I can to try and get in here, and I'm not you.
I'm glad you didn't try too many, or else it might have erased everything on it. Let me see. And he takes the phone and looks it over, tries to power it up, then just immediately sets it on the table, reaches into a pocket, and you see he pulls out this little tiny mallet. And he smashes the phone and then just starts sorting through the pieces until he pulls out a certain chip. He then reaches into his satchel, pulls out a laptop, and sticks the chip into the laptop before powering it up. Sometimes you just got to break through it to find the answer.
I'm not going to question your methods.
I took out the SIM card. I'm going to try and process what's on it to see what we're working with here. There's a lot of different hoops you can jump through when it comes to security, but some things are just simple as the right microchip in the right place.
So take the brain out of the dead body. Got it.
As he's typing and the laptop is whirring, he says, "So how's gun practice going?"
It's going. Doing all right. Jester doesn't like firearms in general, so I've been kind of doing it solo a little bit. Been hitting the target, so there's improvement there, I guess.
So Charles taught you all he had to teach?
All that I'm wanting to take at the moment, yeah. He's can be a bit much sometimes.
Yeah. Who knew that such a suit could be stuffed full of anger and resentment and terrible teaching methods?
Yeah, craziness.
So, how are you dealing with everything that happened on the little field trip? You wanted to check in with me. I want to check in with you. You had a much worse time than I did.
The field trip had its ups and downs for sure. He'll start tapping his finger on the picnic table and like tapping his foot. I'm assuming just did someone talk to you about conversations that have happened already?
Listen, Aspen tells me a lot, but she doesn't tell me everything. No,
dynamic.
As your friend, know that that's not an easy thing to deal with. Trust me. You should have seen the first time I met Ryder.
I've heard mixed things about that one.
That guy had a lot of now what I'm realizing to be trauma. But at the time, I was just a scared kid trying to figure out what it is to be a what we are, he says, looking around for a moment. And it's some people just aren't in the right headspace to teach. They got a lot going on, and I've come to understand that it's easy to judge other people on how they act or how they behave because it's not how we act or we behave. So we have a hard time relating to them. But the truth is, they have their same struggles we do. And that's worth a little bit of extra effort to understand, to get to know them better. Sometimes learning about what others have been through help us connect in a way that we can't normally.
Right. But sometimes you can learn a lot about someone and then learn a lot more when push comes to shove.
Yeah. And sometimes they are also learning about themselves too. We're living in these meat suits. It doesn't mean we know everything about them and how they work.
I'm not going to argue that. It's a fair point.
We might think we know ourselves better than anyone. We might think we know every detail about ourselves. But in my experience, I've learned that I'm constantly surprised. I never thought I was going to finish college. I never thought I was going to get a real grown-up job. Never thought I was going to cut my hair. I did all of that. And it surprised me, but I learned a lot about myself that way too. Even somebody like Charles, who seems like he's got it all together, he's got his own demons and his own surprises to learn. I mean, I can't imagine, based off of just what I've heard about him, having had to grow up in a life like that.
Yeah. Having a life like that, you would have a lot of demons.
Yeah.
And during that trip, I came face to face with that demon. It wasn't a good time.
No, it wouldn't be. Sure, it wasn't a good time for him either. When people demand perfection of you your entire life, the minute you slip up is one of the worst feelings you can have. Because it's not your own desire to be perfect that's the problem. It's all of the demands of everyone else who's demanded you to be perfect as well. That's quite a weight on anyone. I'm surprised it didn't crack sooner.
In some ways, I wish he did.
Yeah. There are people that we consider our pillars of strength that we don't even necessarily know. Aspen is one of mine, obviously. Hell, even you are one of mine. Because I'm not as spirit gifted as you are.
You do a pretty good job.
With Weaver spirits only. But I know that when Aspen started to struggle after the death of Aiden, I felt unmoored. Like I'd lost the only thing that was tethering me to all of this. I'd become so reliant on her for stability, for sense of self, for feeling safe, that when she wasn't able to provide that for me, no matter how much I begged and pleaded and asked, hell, I even demanded, I couldn't make it happen, and I felt betrayed a little bit. But the truth is, she wasn't processing Aiden's death well. She was going back to habits that she knew of, staying focused on whatever the job is, by getting back to work, by, as she puts it, making it all mean something. That she wasn't willing to deal with that hurt. And I left, which was the hardest thing for me to do. because I know that was only contributing to the hurt that she was feeling. But I wasn't okay. I had realized how much I depended on her, that I couldn't even be there for her. And that's a hard realization to make. And luckily, we both made some progress and were able to come back together and work everything out, but that doesn't always work with everyone. And it's harder for some than it is for others, but if you want it bad enough, if it's important to you, you find a way. Find a way to make it happen. You find a way to get past whatever you're stuck on. Because a connection, a true connection, means more than just a matter of moments. It means more than a single incident. It's like this computer, okay? This computer is a sum of all of the chips that are inside of it. And yes, if one chip goes down, the whole computer could. But I don't just give up on the computer because one chip broke. I go buy a new chip, I install it, or if I can, I fix it. Because computer means more to me than the chip. As aggravating as it is, as frustrating as it is, as all the work I was in the middle of that I lost when that chip broke, all the progress I had made comes to a halting stop. The computer will give me a chance to try again if I let it. Otherwise, I'd be going through computers so often. And even as a social worker, my wallet can't handle that.
That's what you have your significant other for.
But that requires me to rely on her.
True.
Forgiving doesn't mean diminishing the pain that you felt. Moving on doesn't take away the importance of that moment. If anything, it's a cautionary tale to the fact that nobody's perfect. And guarantees are rarely truly upheld. Because we're all flawed, and we're all susceptible to, especially in this life, outrageous circumstances. The unpredictable. I mean, Faye, really? I'm about to go get a broadsword and start looking for dragons. Oh, wait, we saw one of those too.
Well, that and a two-headed pterodactyl that breathing fire. So that was fun.
Yeah.
Actually, that was a little bit enjoyable after the fact. During, not so much.
Right.
Looking back, it's kind of cool.
You can say that, and you can definitely hold that over Charles. I doubt he's ever fought a two-headed pterodactyl.
I can. I'd have to actually have a conversation with him, though. The last one we had, I kind of let him have it a little bit. He did ask for it, though. So, just being polite.
Did it make you feel better?
A little, to be honest. I got to push him. I got to berate him in certain ways, and he just stood there and took it. But after I left, the feelings were still there. If not, they're a little bit more so because they were so fresh, and I was able to actually speak them.
As long as you breathe oxygen into a fire, it won't stop burning. If you don't want to feel like this anymore, Jace, you don't have to.
I wish it was something that could be just, you flip a switch.
Oh, of course not. There's work involved. Just like it's work for me to replace the chip in this computer to make it work again. Relationships are even more complicated than computers. Computers, everything has its place, its function, its form. Relationships are constantly evolving and changing. To think that you're going to get the same thing from the same person forever is insane. It's insane to believe that people don't change. It's insane to believe or hold people to a standard of perfection. Because the world isn't perfect. Gaia isn't perfect. If Gaia was so perfect, what the fuck are we fighting for?
You got bored?
Maybe.
Yeah.
But the truth is, nothing's perfect and no one's perfect, and everyone makes mistakes. And if they are a good person, they apologize for them. They recognize them. And they try to pay chiminage, just like we do, to spirits. Because if they're willing to do that, it shows how much you matter to them. How important it is. Charles, when he first got here, it didn't seem like anything mattered to him. This was all just a job, a responsibility. He looked at us all as assets and not people. The idea of him getting close to anyone seemed ridiculous. And honestly, I couldn't wait for him to leave because he was really... We have one ice queen. We don't need an ice king as well, okay? Like, one is enough.
Facts. Yep. 100%.
But people like Aspen and Jester and Eliza, they won't let up.
Oh, they're like little worms, man.
Yeah.
They just get in and they keep digging and digging until they find the button, and then they won't stop pushing that fucking button until you get out and fucking do something about it. And it's aggravating.
Yeah. But would you want any different?
No, I'm a glutton for punishment.
Yeah. I get you. Believe me, I get you. I'm marrying one of them, so I must really like getting my ass kicked.
I remember I lived with you for a while. I'm aware.
It's okay to be hurt for a while. But if you don't want to be hurt forever, if you don't want to carry it around longer than you need to, or if you care enough to fix it, only you can decide that. But Jace, he's not going anywhere. He's not. Jester's made sure of that, if you haven't noticed recently. And as much as it sucks, we have to give him the benefit of the doubt that he's trying. He didn't learn how. He didn't learn how to be modest. He didn't learn how to be humble. He didn't learn how to be human. He learned how to be a weapon. And only a weapon. And now he's having to figure it all out at the age of who knows what, because he doesn't even know his fucking birthday, man.
Yeah.
Because none of that mattered. All the things that were important about being alive and being human, he didn't get to have any of those. Including relationships and friendships. And believe me, I am not a Charles stan. But if my chosen profession has taught me anything, hurt people hurt people, whether they mean to or not. And Charles is clearly hurting. in ways I don't think he's even aware of. And he wants so badly to be respected, to be perfect, to not make mistakes, that he makes mistakes all the fucking time. In the way he treats people, in the things that he does. I feel bad for him. I really do. Because I got to be a fuck up most of my life. And it really helped me figure out who I am. It really helped me become this person. And to not have that chance, that choice, that ability to be given natural consequences, to learn, that sounds like the most horrible existence I can imagine. But I want you. Yeah, go ahead.
The hardest part about all of it is the fact that I got somewhat close to him. That's the part that sucks. I knew that he didn't have a birthday. He disclosed different things about his past during our training sessions. Just because we're shooting, we were able just to, well, shoot the shit and talk about different things. At first, he was just a stone statue, but I did kind of get behind some of those thick exteriors and got to learn the person behind it. And that's why when he made those promises, if it was a promise first 2 weeks that I met him, I wouldn't hold anything to it. It's the fact of what he said, and I thought that I knew him better, and maybe I held him too high of a standard. But it's he put on a really good front, and it was hard for even me to kind of see past it. And it could be things that I've experienced in the past that I kind of put him into this mold, and that's on me. But I know he's hurting just by the conversation we had, and I think I hurt him more than I should have. For Christmas when we were giving everyone gifts and stuff like that, and he got me that custom holster. After I said all the things I did, I shoved it into his chest and walked away.
Hurt people, Jace. You were hurting. And while you are responsible for what you do in those situations, it probably felt right at the time. And you weren't holding him to an impossible standard. He set an impossible standard. It makes sense that you'd expect the things he says to be unerringly true. Charles doesn't lie. He says what he believes to be the truth at all times, even if it's the most blunt, boring, or shitty thing possible to say. You can always rely on him to do it.
Yep.
But also, just when we think we've known everything, we've encountered everything, we've fought everything, something pops up that we didn't expect or plan for. When we reveal our vulnerabilities, which we need to do to connect to other people, those vulnerabilities can be exploited. Jester is a vulnerability for Charles. I pity the fool, to quote my favorite A-Team.
Absolutely.
That tries or even succeeds in taking Jester away from Charles. Because I think that guy would tear down the earth.
He did. He ripped cement walls and vines that were holding us for a good solid 2 minutes to get to the thing that was causing the issues. And I looking back, I get it. And I understand where his heart is and why he's feeling the way he is. And looking back on our conversation, I get that his apology was sincere, but at the time I thought he was just kind of covering his ass. It sounded somewhat sincere, but it's Charles, and he'd been
never
part
know.
of... Yeah, he's been doing the job for a long time. So...
The Charles I knew, I was introduced to, doesn't apologize. Because he's never wrong. But I think what's really important here, even more than that, is you said something that I think we should talk a little bit more about if you're up for it. It reminded you of something. It triggered something in you when it happened. That reinforces the hurt. That makes it then some. And it makes it harder to see in the moment clearly and differentiate between the two situations. What happened to you, Jace?
He'll stop for a moment. His fingers stop tapping. He'll just kind of look down at the table. Well, I guess it started when I was about 8. When I was put into, I think it was the second or third home with the Montgomerys. They had the white picket fence, the big house. There's 4 of us kids in total. They showed a lot of love at first. As weeks went by, that love wasn't there so much. The rules of the house became more strict. The different aspects of the sleeping arrangements got skewed. And there's one big rule of the house is that you don't go down into the basement. Fortunately, I never had to go down there, but some of the other kids did. And I don't want to get into details about that. So I spent a lot of time away from that house. I showed up at night, but I got to know a lot of the different people that were wandering around, even at that age. Picking up different things, learning things, and then trying to use them to my advantage. When the Montgomerys finally had enough of my shit, they sent me to another house. I was about 9, maybe. I heard of this little tiny thing going on. Learn the word what hustling was. So I picked that up. Just trying to keep myself busy, because this other house was way worse than the Montgomerys, because they were upfront about everything. This went on for a few years, but I started getting a bit of a name for myself as, if you want someone to go find something out, if you want dirt on anybody going on, go talk to Jason. When I was 15-ish, so several years at this point have gone by, but there's this guy named Bryce. He was He was tall, muscular, tattooed. He was just this guy that I thought had it all figured out. He took me under his wing and he taught me how to pick locks, how to find easy marks, which buildings you can get into easily with the old infrastructures. He also beat my ass almost every day trying to toughen me up. I did some pretty awful things with that group. When I got to a point on my 18th birthday, Bryce and I, with a few of the other people, we went to a soup kitchen that looked after me a lot when I was a kid. And they always showed me kindness. They always gave me extra food because I didn't want to go home. They gifted me a bike so I had easier means of transportation when I was a kid. They were always super kind to me. But when Bryce thought that they were an easy mark, we went in there. They had guns and started pointing them at people. And when he pointed a gun at Kevin, I couldn't just stand by and let it happen. So I got in Bryce's face. And this person that I held to a standard of someone that would look out for me, listen to my voice. When I looked into their eyes and I stood up to him, that wasn't the person I thought it was. The anger that he had was turned against me, and he got everyone else. Was dragged out to the street, down an alley. And they beat me within a few heartbeats of just not even being existing anymore. Bryce was like a brother that I always wanted. He taught me things that I thought what family was and how things are supposed to go. And I had a dynamic that I hadn't experienced yet. And it was ripped from me within an instant because I said something. With what happened with Charles, it was like reliving that. As soon as that person was taken care of after the job was done, when Charles looked at me, it didn't look like Charles. I tried to talk to him, give some form of reason. And instead I got chased, lashed at. Once again, within a moment, one of his one contact from him, and that would have been it. That fear had set in the same way that Bryce looked at me. I could almost see the exact resemblance with Charles.
I can't even imagine what it's like to grow up in that environment. I mean, say what you will, I had a family, as weird as my family was and as at times broken as it could be. But you said something, and I want to focus on that. What happened to you didn't happen because you said something. You're putting a lot more responsibility and weight on yourself than you deserve. Doing the right thing is never wrong. Even though others would try to make you feel that way, even though others would try to punish you for it. I'm going to say it again. Hurt people hurt people. Bryce was very hurt. Whether it was because of their upbringing, whether it was because of the environment they chose to live in or were forced to live in. Whether it's because they felt like they needed to have that kind of reputation or whatever. That happened to you. You didn't cause it. And the fact that it happened to you speaks a lot to the person Bryce was and the relationship he thought you had versus the relationship you thought you had. You were a tool to him. And as soon as that chip stopped working, he threw away the whole computer. Because some people are like that. Eliza likes to say that there's no evil in the world. I disagree. People can do evil things. Does that make them evil? Not necessarily. But evil exists. Evil is done. And usually that evil can be sorted or sourced back to someone who didn't learn the difference between evil and good, right and wrong. Something's missing in the puzzle that makes that person. Sometimes it's medical. Sometimes it's just social or psychological. You allowed yourself to care. And every time we do that, it's a risk. It is. But it's a risk worth taking. Every time, it's worth taking. Because the fact that we're willing to take that risk, I think that's a sign of a good person. A person who's willing to be vulnerable, a person who's willing to open themselves up, a person who wants to connect, which is so natural and human, especially in a circumstance I can't even comprehend of never having stability, longing for stability. I get it. You wanted stability, and the thing you thought was stable crumbled on you. It betrayed you. But there's a really big difference. They were not Guru.
God, I hope not.
Well, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it, if that ends up being the case. But the reality of the matter is, there is this unpredictable force inside of us. And we use it as best as we can to fight the fight, to serve Gaia. Some people use it selfishly, some Guru do. But we use it as a tool. But that tool is its own living, breathing thing. And at some point, it gets tired of being used. For some, it happens frequently. They don't have the control. They don't know what they're doing. For most of our first change, we're given a tool we don't even think exists. We are Gaia's fury and anger and pain. For the most part, it's spread out amongst all of us so that no one of us has to carry the whole weight of it, because I'm pretty sure if we did, we would explode immediately.
Most likely.
But that doesn't make that fury any less intense. And unpredictable. And at times, when we're vulnerable, when we're weak, when we've been hurt, it tries to protect us. It steps in, it takes over. The most disciplined person in the world can be triggered. It might be harder to find it, and the way in which they lash out might be different, might seem not as bad. But if they pride themselves on that discipline, it's the worst thing they can imagine. Charles needs to be in control of his relationships, of himself, of his surroundings, and of any situation. He can't. And that's a lesson he's still learning. But what you can do is choose to accept that about him. Choose to be a part of that journey for him and for yourself. Because the difference is, Bryce was never going to apologize. He wasn't. You didn't mean that much to him, or else he wouldn't have done it. This doesn't diminish the betrayal you felt. This doesn't diminish the hurt you felt, because that's very real and very honest. But he's not Bryce. And you're not a helpless kid. You are a guru. You are strong. And yeah, he could have torn you apart, but he didn't. Bryce did. A moment like that makes the difference. Be angry, be hurt. But at a certain point, it's only hurting you. You wanted to hurt him and you succeeded. And that's okay, because we lash out when we are feeling vulnerable. But if you want to get that back, that sense of stability, that sense of brotherhood, you have to take the risk again. And you have to take the risk now with the knowledge that nobody is perfect and that he's gonna make mistakes. But he's also capable of apologizing for them. Now more than ever.
And I won't let him forget it.
Good. He's better to have on your side than not. That's for sure.
You're not wrong in that aspect. The feeling that I initially had has passed, but there's that part of me that almost wants to hold on to it.
Why? Do you think it's protecting you?
In a way, it's a way of keeping me away from him. Artie, you're pretty good at this stuff.
Well, luckily I'm good at more than just that. And he hits one final key on the computer. before we go delving into some more painful stuff, I want to make sure that we're in a good place about this first, because I don't know what we're going to find in here, and I need to know that you're not going to do something you regret here.
You'll sit for a second. Overall, I'm okay. Talking about the past is not a topic I enjoy, especially even the recent past. You guys have put me through the ringer since I've been here, so don't even really like reliving any of that. So, but no, we're okay.
I think you'll find more often than not every guru feels the same way. The past is a difficult thing to face and confront because we can't have it anymore. We can try and replicate it or mirror it as best as we can, some sense of normalcy. Aspen and I are on our way to our white picket fence and who knows what else, but we'll never truly have it. We're just going to get as close to it as we possibly can for as long as we possibly can. You can decide and be in control of this situation. Because feeling vulnerable, feeling at the mercy of someone stronger and more powerful than you, can make you feel weak, can make you angry, can make you resentful. But the truth is, you do control the situation. You can choose to keep him at an arm's reach, but I think you'd be missing out on something great. Because really what you're hurt by and upset about is the loss of stability and the belief in something. Now, he turns the screen around and shows you an open photo album. And in the photo album, there's pictures of you and the old Sept all hanging out at the bar. Them ribbing you because it's the grand opening of the bar, the Rat's Den. When we take for granted the people we care about most, it hurts all the more when we lose them. Don't make the same mistake again. This war will kill all of us, unfortunately. I don't let a day go by where I don't appreciate the people I have in my life because I might lose them the next. And we have this sweet little benefit of being spirits in trees when we die, but we don't know what that looks like, and that terrifies me. It sounds better on paper than it probably is in reality.
With the spirits there, I asked Eliza what it'd be like, and she doesn't even know. That is one of the great things about that side, is they have so much insight to different things, but there are things they just will not let us know about. So I also have no idea what we've signed up for, other than we're protecting a very, very powerful place. That's about the extent of the knowledge I have as far as what we're going to be moving into.
Truthfully, are they a spirit or are they just a save file? A memory preserved. which means every second we get now to be in full control of what we are and what we can do, we should use it for good. We should forgive. Not forget, but forgive. We should make amends. We should hold on tight to these people, because really easy to get into the lost in the idea that you're going to get them forever. You might get a version of them, but it's never going to be truly them as they are now. If Charles matters to you, no matter how angry or hurt you are, you'll let him fix it. And you'll forgive him. Not because you have to, but because you want to. Not because the Sept's telling you to. Not because Aspen or Jester are guilting you to. Because it's what you want. You don't need to tell me one way or the other whether you want it or not. But I think you'll be glad that you did. Because you don't want to feel regret. And he points at the photo. For the things you didn't say or didn't do. But that's not what I really wanted to show you. Although it helped my case in this case. Hey, therapist A+. He starts typing again and then brings up a text message thread from a 734 number. Whoever he was communicating with here planned the attack at the mines in Tilden. From what I understand, that's where it went wrong. Whoever planned this took them into a trap. And this is probably going to be the more difficult part. So take a deep breath for me before we do this thing.
Just rip the Band-Aid off.
He brings up a video file. And from what you can see from the still on the video file, it's at Tilden Mine during the attack. He presses play. You can hear gunfire, hear explosions. The Guru are doing what Guru do really effectively and really well. Sludge Fist is moving in line with Stonewall and Olivia. And then you hear distant howls ring out from around the canyon. And the camera turns to see a sea of black wolves pouring into the canyon. And you hear Sludgefist say, "Get ready," and he turns back as Stonewall clocks him in the face. And the camera goes falling, or the phone goes falling to the ground. You hear growling and gnashing. You hear Olivia scream out, "What did you do?" Before she lets out a yelp.
He'll take a moment, just kind of look down at the table, looking away from the gore for a moment, and just shake his head internally, saying that no, this can't be right. There's gotta be fabricated something. It's fake here. And he'll look up to Artie. How true is this? What's going on? Like, is there anything in the background? I don't know how that works. Faking this?
I can look into it. I can see if it's possible. It could be altered or influenced, but there's a lot of possibilities here. So I don't want you to jump to conclusions. One of those. I know. Give me a composure and resolve test, by the way.
Yeah. Rage?
I'd say probably 1 to start.
Okay. 4.
You're able to keep in control. Your rage will go up 1, but you're able to keep in control. You're a theurge, you know. Mental manipulation, Banes. I mean, we're talking about an entire army of black spiral dancers pouring into that mine. That's just the fighters. They have theurges too. So there's nothing to say there isn't mental coercion at play here, but sometimes the most obvious answer is the answer. Nobody is perfect. Everyone is susceptible to the worm.
Artie, the fact that they're like best buds, that can you keep this quiet for a little bit?
Everything you've said here is between you and me, and only you and me. You can reveal however much you want to whoever you want when you want. But 1, don't do anything stupid. 2,
Okay, got it.
do you think he apologized?
That's what I intend to find out.
Then it'd probably be pretty good to have the scariest fighter I've ever seen alongside you when you did it. Just in case. Because you're probably going to have to go through, and he rewinds the video to show the black wolves pouring into the canyon, all of that to find out.
Yeah, I haven't been taught how to fight armies yet. Damn it. Are you able to send that to me?
Yeah, I'll get you a copy.
Okay.
I'll take care of all of it. Let me spend a little time with this video, seeing if I can grab some freeze frames to get some more information. I'm also going to see if it's been doctored just for you, but I'm pretty confident it hasn't been.
I have a conversation in my near future with some people that were present. I have very important things to ask.
We're with you. And when the time comes, we will be with you. All of us. Even if you're mad at some of us. They're going to be there because that's what a pack is. A true pack.
Well, I'm sure you'll be happy. Now, my anger has shifted from Charles greatly at this moment, so...
I had a feeling it might. But that doesn't mean the hurt and the irrationality won't. Be careful, Jace. It may take a while to find the answers, but we'll get them. So really, really stretch those patience muscles as best as you possibly can, because we stand no chance against that right now. But when we will, you'll be damn sure Aspen and Jester and Charles and myself will be leading the charge to get the answer you're looking for. He closes the screen. I'll make sure you get all the photos too. The good ones.
Appreciate it.
So that'll be $60 cash or insurance.
I don't have.
I'm
it. He'll
fucking
reach
with
for
you.
his
You're
wallet.
good. Nope. I'm just fucking with you. You're gonna feel vulnerable after this. It's called a vulnerability hangover. It's very common when you talk about this kind of stuff. So take some time for yourself. Be nice to yourself. Maybe go punch a punching bag or have a drink or whatever is healthy for you. But it's going to be okay. I promise you. And I can uphold that promise.
Better.
I'm
Then I
gonna.
hold grudges.
Clearly. He starts to rise from the table, sliding the laptop into his bag. He puts a hand on your shoulder. Thank you for sharing with me. And I'm not saying that placidly or professionally, but as your friend who cares about you. I know this was a lot, and I know it was really hard. But one, it's between us, and I mean that. You won't have Jester or Aspen coming up to you probing for more info. And two, I love you, man. Your pack, your family, and family does that for family.
He'll grab his hand and then stand up and put his hand on his shoulder. Well, Mr. Garfield, this was a fantastic session. I'll be sure to book one in the future.
I hope so. Really relieving.
I wouldn't say relieving, vulnerable, yeah, and I'm assuming my Gru aspect doesn't like make my hangover a little bit
That
faster.
doesn't help. No. This is one of those things that doesn't regenerate. If anything, you're at more risk of doing something explosive and stupid. So, really button that up.
Then we go for a drive. That usually calms me down for a little bit, and I'll stay within city limits.
Go to the ocean if you want to. It doesn't matter. Whatever is going to help you.
Yeah, and I love you too, man. And he'll let go and kind of give him a slap on the shoulder, grab his stuff, and walk towards his bike.
As you return to the bike from whence you arrived, what's going through Jace's head with all of this new information and all these new things to consider?
As he climbs onto the bike, he has this reliving of him being gifted the bike from Denton, that this was his. And the fact of seeing Big Jim Stonewall just turn and hit him, replay in his head, he grabs on to the bike and then the accelerator and just guns it and takes off. And while he's going, he's trying to think back of anything that had happened in the past with Stonewall, with the original Rustborn pack, anything that could have been a little shady. Yes, he was a Shadow Lord, but is there anything that could allude to what just happened? And it comes to the realization, what Artie said, that if it is Stonewall, Jace can't fight him by himself, and he definitely can't take on an army of spirals. So he does need the aid of the one Charles Albrecht. So now he's trying to formulate some form of apology that doesn't make it sound like he's apologizing, more that Charles is at fault and Jace is willing to look past it, as he's just gunning it down the highway.
And with that, we transition to our final scene of the evening. Aspen, you met a new person a few days back. Viktor Iron Oath Volkov. And aside from the edge that all Russians seem to carry, that little bit of intimidation, he seemed kind enough and that he was representing the king and the nation. There's an opportunity here, to say the least. But there's also the fact that he's Charles's teacher. That kind of weighs a little bit on your mind. But being the leader means sometimes stomaching your personal feelings for what's best for the pack, the sept, the nation. In your case, the new nation that you're trying to build. So you reach out to Volkov, inviting him to meet you at Pelfrey and Weiss, attorneys at law. Professional environment, but not one where you're especially vulnerable, one where you can put on your best face. Your seat of power outside of your actual seat of power. And hey, things go bad, you'll at least have a desk between you and him. As you're waiting, watching the clock from your office behind your desk, knowing that that minute is coming, about 2 minutes away, what's going through Aspen's mind?
Oh, buddy. There's Fenris in the city. We have to go to the Dreaming. We have new nation logistics to deal with everyone having their own ideas and their own thought process in that situation. This is the worst time to have another person with their own machinations, their own feelings, to put on that face and do the guru culture thing. But knowing that the culture, you can't let these things linger and act as if they aren't important. And that would put a bad taste in the mouths of somebody so important when we're trying to make a difference in the nation. So as much as there's so much to do, this has to be important too. So, and all the icky stuff around this person specifically has to go to the wayside to make an impression, whether she likes it or not.
Tick, tick, tick. The second hand continues around the clock, trying to keep time with your pounding heartbeat. As eventually, a looming figure approaches the door. Long, silvery white hair falling to his shoulders, a white beard surrounding his scarred face. He's dressed professionally enough. A coat over a button-up shirt that's buttoned most of the way up. Slacks, shoes. Possibly purchased, possibly borrowed, possibly brought. He approaches the door, giving a respectful knock, but as he knocks, it feels like boom, boom, boom. Even though it is just a respectful rap.
She'll stand up. Please come in.
The door opens, and in enters Viktor Iron Oath Volkov. Originally of the Sept of the Crescent Moon in Russia, now residing in the Sept of the North Country. He enters in with a respectful smile and a dip of his head. Miss Weiss, thank you for meeting with me.
Of course. Of course, Mr. Volkov, please sit.
Thank you. He steps over to the chair. He's so tall. Just as wide to suit that when he gets into the chair, it's almost like he has to squeeze into it because his hips rub up against the arms of the chair, straining them slightly. Meeting has been a long time coming. I'm glad that we are able to meet like this. There is much we have to discuss, and as it pertains to... He looks around for a moment, making sure that there aren't listening ears or peering eyes. Our family and our association.
Yes, of course. And these walls are decently thick, so you can relax a little bit in that perspective.
Thank you. I would expect nothing less, but you can never be too careful.
Of course.
Miss Weiss, I won't mince words. It's not my way. The nation is in trouble. I'm sure you've heard the whisperings, the rumors about the state of the throne, the crown, the king.
I have.
Unfortunately, there are some things being a guru can fix. There are some things Gaia can fix. And then there are some things that once broken can never be mended. Unfortunately, one of those things, it seems, is our king. He has fallen by the wayside. He has lost his way. He has lost his fight, his wolf, his desire. Still, he rules. He's even gone so far as to bring in a stray, claiming her to be the next king. The queen. A teenage girl. He has ceased listening to reason. He has ceased caring. Because of everything he's done, all the renown he's accrued, because of how favorably Falcon has looked upon him. No one is willing to openly challenge him or oppose him. And we have tried countless times to bring him back. We've searched far and wide, even chasing down legends, myths, to find a way to heal the king. And yet we still fail. Now, I have heard rumors and words of my own about this place and what's been done here. I will not deign to call you the name I have heard. Because I don't cast judgment before seeing it for myself.
Understandable.
Our tribe, which has long stood as a pillar of leadership, stability, strength, is crumbling. You know the nation is fractured. I won't pretend otherwise. We need stability once more. We need strength. We need leadership. I believe, for the good of what you are trying to do and the good of what already exists, that Charles Albrecht should return home and take up his place as heir. And I believe, with what influence I have, I can offer support to what you're trying to build here. And that perhaps once stability is reached, negotiations and inroads can be made to a future of change.
Interesting. A couple of questions, if you don't mind.
Please.
This heir brought in, where are they from? Why were they brought? What are their capabilities?
They're from New York. They are going by the name Mari Albrecht now, but that is not the name they were born with. It was the name the king pushed upon them. They are a Silver Fang, but they are young, recently changed. They are scared, and I believe under the pressure of rule they will buckle and break. They are still trying to come to terms to what being a guru even is, but yet the king won't allow us to educate them the way they should be educated. He just simply keeps them as almost like a pet or a security blanket by his side. And if he is the example of what rulership should be, I fear for our nation and our future. And I don't fear much, and I don't mean that to boast. But this truly terrifies me.
And why not someone else? Someone capable, someone like yourself?
The Albrecht name carries a lot of weight and goodwill. And this is what Charles has been raised his entire life to do. It is his destiny, his responsibility. I understand that's a lot of pressure to be put on an individual, but it is pressure he has been prepared for his entire life. And I fear that anyone to take the king's place that is not the true heir will be viewed with dismay, disgust, possibly even disregarded.
You say that the name carries a lot of weight, and I understand that as ways of Silverfangs of old lineage, such things. But a name doesn't carry responsibility on its own.
This is true. And a name can be used in more non-traditional ways. You've met Matthias, and he says with a kind of twinkle in his eye and a smile, the Silver Crown is a representation of a promise that Jonas made when Falcon presented it to him. It also, if the stories are true, there's a great deal of temptation along with it. Why not just anyone else? Because it's very unlikely anyone else could withstand the temptation. Again, if the stories are true, and I have no reason to believe otherwise.
Then why put that much authority to one person?
Because Falcon chose him. And Falcon chose Jonas.
You're saying that Falcon chose Charles.
Yes.
In what parameters? To rule, to put the silver crown on his own head?
To be the heir. To inherit, to rebuild and repair the nation. Take us out of the dark times we find ourselves in and to lead victory.
Okay. But as far as interpretations go, there's nothing there saying that the crown goes on his head. Am I misunderstanding?
What else does an heir wear once it becomes their time?
Not all heirs choose to follow the same traditions of those of their predecessors.
This is true. And if we were talking about the matters of human politics, where there are many to choose from that could take on the responsibility within the line, we do not have that luxury.
Why not?
Swice, I think you know why not. Fewer and fewer of us are made every year. This is what our tribe does. What we stand for, what we were chosen for.
To lead, of course.
Yes.
To rally. But leading and rallying doesn't always mean that it's at the top. Most of the best leaders are in the trenches.
I agree. Jonas was in the trenches until he wasn't. He was an example, a pillar, a shining light to all Guru. But that light has dimmed.
I absolutely understand that. I'm just trying to understand why when a authority falters, why we just put what a few have determined to be the proper heir in its place without due process, without a bereavement period.
We have been in a bereavement period for most of Charles's life.
Not entirely, though. He still leads, he still rules, he still makes the laws, regardless of his predilections, correct?
Does he?
That's my question.
He leads by counsel, similar to what you propose.
So
And
why
the
not?
council does most of the leading.
So why not continue to have the council lead? Obviously, one person leading an entire nation hasn't worked so far.
Because at the moment, he could make a decision that contradicts everything we are trying to do, trying to build, and we must obey as the litany states.
And you don't believe that in a space we're in now, a trial of no contest is more than reasonable?
I think we need strength. And Charles possesses strength unlike any other student I've had. It rivals even myself. I understand what you are saying, Miss Weiss, and I understand your modern perspectives. But when you are balancing the entire nation, there are those who are traditionalists who will not see it that way. We must find stability before we institute change. This is a stability that the nation recognizes and knows. This change could be in a way that appeals to all, or most.
Is it stability, though?
That's what we seek.
And we've considered he puts this silver crown onto his head and it all goes wrong, then what?
You have spent some time with him. You have come to know him. I'm sure you've heard a great deal.
Yes.
Do you believe it would go wrong?
Yes?
Why?
I don't think Charles Albrecht is done learning the balance between composure in combat versus composure in one's thoughts, and balance between heart and brain.
And how much time do you believe we have for him to learn to your satisfaction?
That is a question, right? But as you said, it is pertinent now. But just as you didn't want to put an heir who wasn't trained, wasn't ready, why would we take the lesser of two evils if what the nation needs is stability?
Charles is not lesser. He was taught from a very early age what he needs to know. And I believe, as a leader, he is capable.
I don't believe that to be so.
You can see he takes that in and chews on it for a moment.
He was taught many things. Combat, how to keep his composure at a very young age, how to wield a weapon at the age of 8. Those are all things you taught him. But he was lacking in his teachings when it came to discernment of emotions. That emotions are also important when making decisions, not just logic. And a leader with no heart is no leader at all.
A leader with too much heart becomes Jonas Albrecht.
So we do the opposite and we give him no heart at all.
This is not a permanent solution, Miss Weiss. Charles Albrecht made an oath to this seat of power. It is his destiny, his responsibility.
To whom did he make this oath to?
Grandfather the king, Falcon, all Guru.
So if we were to commune with Falcon, he would know that Charles made an oath to him then.
Was present. Yes.
Okay. And the king and yourself.
The entire court.
Just trying to understand what the oath was and what the parameters of that oath might have been.
His oath is to serve the nation, the tribe, and yes, the king. Until the day he becomes it.
And what were to happen if oaths were to contradict each other? Parts of the litany I've been pontificating on, so I'd like to have your opinion.
An oath that contradicts should not have been made.
So, based off of your expertise, what would you do in a situation like that?
I believe in oaths being upheld. An oath made to the crown, to the nation, to our patron, is of the utmost importance.
But it would still be a litany break either way, correct?
Yes.
And how would you go about rectifying that for the oath that would be broken for one of such high reverence?
Well, I believe they face the offended party. They face tribunal. They are judged.
And who sees that punishment?
I believe both parties the oaths were made to would be represented and an impartial to round it out.
So, for example, if he were to break this oath, not saying he would, we've done a lot of discussions about the litany and how to handle it moving forward. Who would you have represent as a third party?
Hypothetically, the tribe would have me tell you that all three should be of the tribe. But I don't think that appeals to your sensibilities. So, a Black Fury, perhaps?
One not of the council that he made the oath to, not to yourself, obviously. We're both Silver Fangs, not to the king, not to Falcon, but someone outside of those purviews, correct?
Correct.
Someone, and I wouldn't obviously put it to our sept here. If, say, this was the reason because he is part of our sept, that would be bias, would you say?
I would. But I am coming to you for your sensibilities outside of bias.
Understandable. And let's say hypothetically, Charles also made an oath to someone else, to a leader of a different sept. How would that be rectified so that he could continue with his oath of such reverence?
Would filling this position break that oath?
Potentially.
Depends on the specifics of the oath. Such things can be complicated, but also can be achieved. To serve a sept, how better to serve them than as their king? But not only are they serving the sept, they are serving all septs, all Garou.
It's an excellent point. Thank you. Okay. Would put quite a bit of logistics on the whole thing, wouldn't it?
And while I am not one for logistics personally, I respect their place and purpose. But as this task has been given to me, I must see it through.
And if I were to, as his sept leader, say that under my purview he still has much more to learn, and I don't see that as a beneficial idea for anyone in the nation, new or old, then what would happen?
Come join his council. You believe he has much to learn, then serve. Be a teacher. As much as the king commands, they also serve. And some would have said the same about our king when he united the nation.
Right. And I don't mean to be disrespectful. I am very young, and understanding the litany as a whole, just as someone older, is still quite confusing. So I have many questions. If, as you said, some would have said that Jonas Albrecht was not fit, was too young, was not as knowledgeable, and maybe they have been proven correct after what we've seen. Also, if we were to put a crown on someone's head in the similar situation where they aren't ready, they still have things to learn, before being able to learn, that crown could have already corrupted them, from what I understand from stories, correct?
Correct, which is why we haven't. If this were a matter of preference and choice, if time weren't working against us, if we weren't seeing more and more tribes and septs breaking away, rebelling, if it hadn't been for the Stargazers and Fenris leaving the fold, I'd say take all the time you need. But the truth of the matter is that is not an option.
And we believe that an old ideology repeating itself will bring them back into the fold?
I believe it will buy us time, yes. I believe it will show that we are not going to just continue to let a man fall into Hirano wield the power of the nation irresponsibly.
He has fallen completely, has he not?
Yes.
If someone were to fall into Hirano completely, or Hogloss completely, shouldn't their authority be null and void at that point?
If challenged. But there are those who will not offer themselves to such challenge, or will not allow such challenge within the court.
He has lost his wolf, yes.
I believe so, yes.
So by that His station is depleted.
Well, there are those who keep such things quiet and allow them to exist only in rumor. But I am here as an act of good faith and a tribe member, a fellow Silverfang, telling you the truth, yes.
I appreciate that. Could I offer a counter offer?
You could see a smile, albeit tight-lipped, cross his face. Please.
I think even if it were to buy you time, putting Charles in a position like that would be ill-advised. I know I'm young. I know that my opinions aren't as large in the grand scheme of things, especially how the nation works as a whole, but it's not worked for us before. I don't believe doing the same thing will result in something better or something. It's insanity, is it not, by pure definition?
It did work before. Albrecht united the nation and banished the Black Spiral Dancer threat.
And yet, the nation is shattered.
Much time has passed. The weight of leadership is not meant to be carried forever. I think you know this. Our
I do.
kind do not live as long as Jonas Albrecht has lived. As long as
So
I
why-
have lived, which is why I don't volunteer myself for such a position.
Why didn't we do something to change it when the first fractures started to form?
You know politics, Miss Weiss. You are not naive. There are
No,
those who
that-
seek to gain from him being vulnerable.
Yes, and that is my point exactly. We are becoming cyclical. So change needs to happen regardless. And putting a sticker on a dent isn't going to change anything. So I bring myself to my counter offer. You and I, we come up with some ideas. Potential people, potential counsel that could take up in a stead and have more voices for such a thing. Because as you said, leadership weighs on one, and it does much quicker on one than as a group.
And while you and I are spending our time making this perfect nation, every day that passes, there is a risk of a naive, uneducated girl taking the crown, being corrupted by it, and potentially taking away all of our ability to make choices at all.
Then we put an intermediary in, an older, wise guru, not one to wear the crown, but one to take a position until ideas of all Guru Nation can be heard.
Protestations lead me to believe you do not trust Charles Albrecht.
My protestation should lead you to believe that I think what we're doing isn't working.
Again, I understand your position. I will think over what you have said. But I have an oath to fulfill also. And I must fulfill it. I offer you this to consider. If you wish so much for change, and I won't deny it is likely time for it. Why not both? If you have garnered the respect of Charles Albrecht, if you have garnered his loyalty, crown or no, he will listen to what you have to say. Why not with the crown? Why not with the ability and everything that comes with it to institute the change you seek? Because I think we are both aware a good deal of the nation does not look favorably upon what you do here. And with the support of the throne backing it, you will gain more.
I understand that, but that's the difficult thing, is it not? That when you start to slip in your ideals and the reason you're doing it just for the help of people in a higher station, then you're not really fighting for your ideals at all. And my ideals are that we should thrive and not only survive this. And by taking away the autonomy of another guru, you're putting them as foot soldiers in a war that we must fight. I believe that full-heartedly, but without any autonomy of their own. We fight in the ways that we can. We don't put a theurge in the front lines. We don't put an Arun to talk to spirits. We don't. And sometimes we can put a Ragabash talking to spirits in a certain situation, and a theurge or a Galliard that could rival many Guru. But we're all different, and we all deserve our autonomy, and if I let that slip under my purview, I stand for nothing at all.
Miss Weiss, I came to you specifically to talk about this, to support or offer some support to what you are trying to build. But Charles will take up the crown because it is what he has been raised to do. Now we could do it together with a transition that could benefit all parties involved. But it is happening. This is a courtesy.
So this would be something that would happen by force, even if he choose to denounce it and then break the litany, yes, but you would have it happen by force?
If he wishes to break his oath, he can do so to the king himself. I am just a messenger. I am just the one tasked with returning him.
So that you will do by force.
Don't think I'll have to.
But if you had to.
Can't break my oath with Miss Weiss. It means something to me.
I understand that. I have much to do with my sept before any of this can happen.
I do not have a timeline. But bear in mind each day that passes, that risk still looms. I will stay. I will even help, if you wish me to, as a guest in your territory.
I don't think that would be necessary, but I appreciate the offer.
Very good. But please understand, when I do leave, it will be with Charles Albrecht.
And I mean this because we are on opposite sides, but I do still see your station and who you are as a person, so I do not mean this with any ire behind it. We are diametrically opposed in our ideals.
I'm glad we still have the freedom to be that way. for as long as we can. Let us hope the stories aren't true.
I appreciate your time.
Die
Mr.
yours, Miss
Volkov.
Wace. He rises up, and the chair groans as he does so. He offers a polite dip of his head until we meet again. May Falcon guide you.
You as well.
He turns and moves to the door. Now what is Aspen feeling? Finally aware of what Volkov is here to do and what he wants.
Aspen waits until you can hear those large bounding footsteps get further and further, and then she just smacks her head onto her desk and puts her head in her hands as she thinks about what this means, trying to find every loophole and every way that this could potentially go without Charles leaving. Should she make him make an oath to her? He said it before. She's Sept leader. He'll do what she says. But that takes away his autonomy, and that's exactly what she doesn't want to do. Should she fight against it tooth and nail and not let Charles leave the Sept by any means necessary? Unfortunately, the litany is what it is, and we are one Sept versus a whole nation that doesn't believe the same things we do. And then do we go and fight against a broken system and a king who no longer thinks logically or with any heart? There's nothing there. These are all losing battles. Every single one of them. So she just sits with her head in her hands and sighs.
Oaths are like iron. Believe it or not, iron can be broken when under enough strain. But once it is, it can't ever be as strong as it once was again. It will forever be brittle and weak. No matter how much you reforge it, no matter how much you add, a broken blade is broken. This is where our story comes to a close this evening, but not without one last scene. We find ourselves in an RV camp far from the downtown area. An army has gathered and mills about the RV camp, having taken possession of it the only way they truly know how. Where the bodies are buried, it may take years for them to be found. But it's theirs now. Their territory, their home, their place. We move towards the central RV, ringed by others. Campers, RVs, cars, trucks. As the various members of the cult of Fenris move through the area, trolling, planning, preparing, we focus on one specific instance. The inside of that central RV, where a man that was once young, now much older, sits. Plato, also known as Brandon, speaks to someone we don't see. So what exactly are you offering? I don't care what you're up to. I don't care what your machinations are. That's not my job anymore. What is my job is seeing justice done and what was taken returned to its rightful place. I see no harm in that, Brandon says. If anything, maybe we can help each other. Because I too believe justice needs to be done. Mr. Rook of the Iron Bells, I think we have an agreement. And he holds out his hand to the man in the jean jacket, stubble growing around his scarred face, his short brown hair. Is he still a Red Talon after an agreement like that? Or is he just another of the cult of Fenris? This brings tonight's story to a close. Thank you so much to these amazing players. Thank you to everybody watching at home. Go follow St. Pete by Night on all of that social media you see down below, and come join our Ko-fi for as low as $5 a month. You could get access to all kinds of behind-the-scene featurettes, merch discounts, just more and more benefits all the time. So come join. This week, we've got an episode of Hellhounds on Friday. We've got an episode of our new Vampire the Masquerade show, Red Tide Rising, on Sunday. And having just recorded that episode, I can tell you, just tune in to see it. And then we'll be back next week with episode 99 of Rage Across Tampa, on the road to 100, which will be our special in the Dreaming. So make sure to stay up to date and come along for the wild adventure it is. For these amazing players, I'm Kent. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time. Have a good evening, everyone.
So how with the path, let the night be our guide. In battles of honor, we shall never hide.
This has been a St. Petersburg by Night production, produced in agreement with the World of Darkness and Dark Pack. Visit our website at stpetebynight.com for more information about all of our productions and how you can become part of our community. Thank you for listening, and until next time, fangs, stakes, and claws out.